Guys, good morning. Hmm. Let me open that program first of all. Today, I have created a program. What's the name of that class? I guess DML help person, DML you, right? Hmm. So, we have created this program, and with the help of this, we have understood about a few of the limitations with DML state. Now, what is that limitation? What are those limitations? Let's try to revise them once again so that we could understand what is going to be the probable solution for that. All right. The first thing is the DML statement. They are atomic in nature. When we say atomic, what does it mean? So it actually means that either whenever a DML is applied, for example, here we are trying to insert 200 records, 100 records, whatever records. Now that becomes a set of a record. Yeah, you have stored them inside a collection, and this collection you are trying to insert, isn't it? So what is going to be happen in this case when we say that the DML, they are atomic in nature means either the complete set of record is going to be get committed or they are going to be get rolled back. Neither a single record is going to be get committed. If if even a single record out of them is going to get failed. So the that actually means the atomicity of nature. That was the first thing. Second was there is no partial processing. There is no partial processing. That means you cannot say that. For example, if you're trying to insert 100 records, out of that 100, some of them would be committed, some of them would be getting failed. Still, the process would be carried out. Now, it's not happening. It doesn't happen in the case of a DML statement. So DML, it doesn't provide you a partial processing mechanism, by the way. And the last thing was like, for example, if maybe from the 100 records, some of them get fails, the whole process get rolled back, right? That is what we have seen with this example. I have intentionally failed the 99th record. I have intentionally failed the 99th record. And when I try to execute this, once again. So this is my class name. When I try to execute this, right, what's the method name? Insert. Take it out, right, copy it from insert bulk record. So if I would try to make this insertion, and I guess at this moment I have worked with email ID. Yes, yes. I'll have to change this. Let me do this changes first of all so that because yesterday I have shown you like the email ID field was just a mandatory field on the page layout, but otherwise that field is present, right? Let me make the changes as well. Then I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. But so now I have make the changes, right? All right. So here I'm trying to intentionally fail the 99th record. I'm trying to insert 100 records. So try to execute this once again. Yes. So DML utility was getting it. What is the reason? I'll check it out. Why it is committed? It is committed. Let's check it out. This is strange. This is very strange. For a DML rows are hundreds. It actually is committed. I guess I have not saved this problem. Right. Save this once again. See the code. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Email ID. I have attack number. It's not instrument name. Okay. I would try to execute this once again. It's, maybe that code. I mean, this I haven't saved was executed because I make the changes. I have not saved that. Anyways, see. So basically, what happened over here is like you know, once you try to commit the changes, once you try to commit the changes with a DML statement, basically what happens is like, DML does not provide you a facility of partial processing. That means either the complete set of record is going to be get inserted, updated, deleted, whatever is operation. Otherwise, the complete operation is going to be the complete set of transaction is going to be rolled back. It's going to be get cancelled. All right. So these are some of the common errors, like what happens when you try to use DML. Now, let's move further with what we can do in such a situation. What we can do in such a situation. See, I have told you, I probably have drawn one diagram for you where I have shown you like where exactly we can use the DMLs more efficiently. So I guess in the day, I mean the session, maybe 2 session or 3 session back, I have told you one situation where we are getting the data from external resource. Now, for example, this is our Salesforce org, right? And you are, I mean, this is our Salesforce org, and you are receiving data from some external resource. Could be another Salesforce organization as well, or it could be some other system with some other technology. And for this, we usually do something called as integration. We write down the APIs and web services and everything. But inside the web services and APIs, what I'm saying is also classes. All right, they are also the Apex classes. There's nothing else. Only there are slight differences. There are few annotations and there are few formats which you require to follow that time. But otherwise, even if I'm saying that this is an API, API still is a class. It's a web service. When I say it's a web service, it's again a class. And inside in class, you can use DML statement. So now try to understand, for example, if this is an external system and this system is sending us, let's consider 200 records, all right, 2000 records. The system is sending 2000 records. And we have built up a program, we have built up an API, we have built up a web service, which would take this 200 records and let's say it will going to store this inside, let's say, account object. All right. Now, what should happen in this case? I mean, we wanted to build up the system in such a way that even though some of the record would get failed, we simply don't want it to terminate the complete set of operations. I mean, for example, if let's say 500 records out of this 2000 would get failed during this process, so we still wanted the rest of 1500 records to be get inserted inside the account. But if you use the conventional DML statements like insert, update, delete, merge, upsert, all of them have this limitation that they are atomic in nature and it does not provide the facility of partial processing. It does not provide this partial processing facility. So that means if inside in my program, if I'm building up a program for the, if I'm building up a program If this is my program by which I am taking this data from external system and I'm storing this inside the Salesforce. Inside in this program, if I have used the conventional DML statements, then what is going to be happen in this case? We are asking that if you are transferring 2000 records to us, that all 2000 either they are going to be get committed or no record, or the complete transaction is going to be get terminated and nothing is going to be get inserted. But this is not the situation what we are asking for. And this is not the solution which has to be idealized. So this is like, this is a real time situation where where you need to facilitate this with partial processing mechanism. That means at this moment of time, for this particular situation, we just don't want it to lose every other things as well when they are true. All right, what about the false data? That is going to be get ignored. But what about those 1500 records? They were very true in nature. They were very true in nature. So we discussed like there were 2000 records which were trying to be get committed. Now out of those 2000, 1500 records were absolutely fine. There were no mistakes into that. But because of few other records, these 15 records are also getting up. These 1500 records are also getting up. All right. So whenever this is a situation where we wanted a facility of partial processing, that means at least those records which are good in nature, those records which are absolutely true, at least they should be get committed. And they should not be get terminated all because of few faulty records. This is a very common situation. This is a very common situation. I'm telling you that. Yesterday I told you that no, I'm going to have that discussion where you would require this partial processing, especially with integration. See, because understand one, whenever we are doing an integration, whenever we are doing an integration, we cannot we cannot every time say that the data which is coming to us would be all good every time. Why? Because that's coming from an external resource and we don't have any control over there, isn't it? Don't have any control over. Whenever something is coming beyond our control, beyond our organization, no, we cannot say that it has. Oh, we can idealize. We can make certain assumption that whenever a data comes, it should have all those parameters. It should have the contact number value, should have email ID value, should have name, it should have location and all that. But this is just an ideal situation. This is just an ideal situation. Sometimes this might also occur that few of the record, for example, for 500 record, there was no contact number. And for rest 1500, the records were perfectly fine. It was containing all records. It was containing value for all of the fields. So whenever especially you are having a dependency on someone else, maybe an external system from where we are getting this all inputs, we cannot say that every time the data could come in its finest form. Then we have to make this assumption. And see, nobody is going to teach you like this. For this particular situation, don't go with conventional DML. Rather go with database class methods. This question you'll have to ask with yourself. आपको अपने आप से पूछना है. Should I use a conventional DML statement or should I use the database class method? So let me discuss on that. What is a database class method? Okay. So see, DMLs are statements. Listen this. DMLs are statements. But Salesforce inside the Apex, like there are so many standard classes you are using and you are building up a program, you probably now you have realized that Apex programming, side in Apex programming, we are using more than 50% of the logic. what we are using is already being there. Like you are using system.debug. System is a class. Database is a class. Maths is a class. List is a class. Isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, if list is a collection, all these methods, they are already built up. So basically, in that way, database is also a standard class. Database is also a standard class. Now this class have these methods. This class have these methods. They are not statement first of all. They are not statement. These are statements. These are statements. But database is what? Database is a class. This is a standard class like your system, maths, isn't it? So in the same way, database is also a standard class in Apex, which have all these methods. These are the methods. See, when you see this opening and a closing round bracket, I always say this is a method. This one is a method. So database is one of the standard class inside Apex programming. And this class have all these methods: start, update, delete, and delete, assert, and everything. And then empty recycle. Now, wherever you have used the insert, you can also use database.insert. Wherever you have used inside in your programming, you have delete. If you have used delete, you can replace that delete with database.delete. Wherever inside the program, if you have used an update, you can replace that with database.update. In terms of functionality, both of them are same. In terms of functionality, like insert is used to insert a record, to create a new record inside an object. Database dot insert would do the same thing. Delete is used to remove some existing record. If you wanted to remove that from the table, from the object, delete is used to perform that operation. Database dot delete would do the same thing. Update statement would provide you the facility that you can change the records, you can customize it. Database dot update would do the same. So functionality point of view, whatever these DML would perform, these functions are capable to perform the same thing. Functions, they can replicate the same operation. Then what is the difference? Then what is the difference? So the differences are, listen this very carefully. One second. All right. So if the functionality of both of them is same, then what is the difference? The difference is whatever we see as a limitation of DML statements, they are not there in database class methods. That means sometimes this might happen in interview. They would ask you a question: what is the difference between an insert and database dot insert, or maybe update or database dot delete or database dot delete? They are actually trying to ask you the difference between a conventional DML statement and database class methods. So what we are discussing right now, it is applicable to all of them, right? If the question is very straightforward, like I'm asking, what is the difference between the conventional DML statements, like this, and database class method? Or it could also be asked in a twisted manner, like, they could ask you, like, what is the difference between a plain insert and a database dot insert? All right. So what we are learning right now is going to be applicable to everyone. See, we just have understood and we have revised this today as well. They are atomic in nature. These all statements are atomic. It doesn't provide you the partial processing. There is no way to track the outcome, the results. There are three major limitations. There are three major limitations with a DML, that they are purely atomic. What does it mean by atomic? This has been elaborated. It does not provide you the partial processing. What does it mean that partial processing is being elaborated? And it doesn't have any tracking mechanism. If something happens to them, what actually has been happened is very difficult to track. So there is no such tracking mechanism for the DMLs. These are the three major issues with the conventional DMLs. But same, they don't. I mean, if you have learned this, all three of them, then what is the opposite of them? The sense of opposition over here. That is what is the advantages with database class method. That means if I would say that DML statements are atomic, if I would say that DML statements are atomic, but database class methods are not. If I would say DML statement does not provide partial processing mechanism, facility of partial processing, database class method right now. If there is no tracking mechanism for DML, there is of course a tracking, and we are going to see that, right? There is of course a tracking by which you can see what are the success records, what are the failure records, which record gets success, which record get failed, and if it get failed, what are the error messages for that as well. So absolutely we can track the whole process. So these are the three major differences between using a conventional DML statement whereas using the database class methods. Database class methods are not atomic. Like insert is atomic, but database dot insert is not atomic. Update is atomic. Database dot update is not atomic. Database class methods will provide you the partial processing facility. Insert cannot provide you that. Database dot insert provide you that. Update cannot provide. Delete cannot provide you that. But the similar database method would provide you that partial processing facility. And what does it mean by partial processing? Even a single record or few of the records would get failed. The complete transaction is not going to be get rolled back. If we are trying to insert 100 records, and if some of the records out of those 100 are getting failed, that does not mean it is going to affect the other records. They are going to be get inserted properly. If 5 record amongst the 100 is getting failed, only 5 would be failed. The transaction is not going to be get terminated. Rest 95 would be getting inserted. That is what does it means by a partial processing. And this happens with database class method. So now listen this very carefully. wherever, please write it down. I guess, I'm not sure how much For how much duration you are going to remember this, but this is very important. This has to be remembered for lifelong. मुझे नहीं पता कि आप कब तक याद रख पाओगे इसको. Please make a note of this. This I'm telling you from my experience. This is now nowhere in the notes it has been written. Whenever, if you are performing a DML operation with the help of a program, with the help of a program. So if you are constructing a program to perform certain DML, like there is a need, example, there is a need to insert record, update record, delete record, upsert record, merge a record. And this has to be done with a program. So you are writing a program for that. Whenever you are writing a program to perform a DML operation, then you would have to ask this to yourself. Or not, if not to yourself, if you don't have that clarity, if you don't have that visibility over requirement, you could ask to someone who have that. Maybe the someone from where you are taking that requirement. Understand this. If, for example, I am your manager and I'm telling you that Pallavi, Rahat, Roshni, Bhagyashri, you will have to create a program for which this is something, and we have to insert that. We are having these records, we are pulling them from some external system, and we have to insert them inside account object. So you have to build up that logic. Now this clearly indicates that you are receiving certain things and you have to insert those things, isn't it? That means you'll have to write a program to perform the insert operation. Now here, like you would have to ask this to either yourself or you can ask this to me. If you don't have that much of visibility over requirement, if you have everything in your hand, you could decide it by your own. Otherwise, you can ask me. See, whenever we perform any DML, there are two different ways to do that. The first is maintaining the transaction. The second is using a partial processing. You could ask this to me. Kasim, you're saying to me to perform this DML operation. I'm okay with that. I don't have any issues. I just wanted to have one more clarity over it. What is that? We are performing an insert operation. We are trying to insert this much of the records. There are two different ways. In Apex, in Salesforce, there are two different ways to perform the DML. By maintaining the transaction or else via partial processing. When you say maintaining the transaction would be a conventional DML statement. Conventional DML statement because they maintain transaction. And maintaining the transaction means what? Yeah, आपको भी पता है, मुझको भी पता है, because both of us are technical person. I understand. You also understand. Maintaining the transaction मतलब वही बात क्या भाई, एक भी फेल हुआ तो सारा फेल हो जाएगा. क्या हमें ये वाला फीचर चाहिए? Sometimes this also we require. Sometimes this also. मैं example पे आता हूँ. Sometimes this we require. We intentionally wanted the whole transaction to be get rolled back. We wanted to maintain the transaction. और partial processing क्या चाहिए आप? So this is a very important question. Understand? This is a very important question from technical point of view. हमको ये सवाल पूछना है, चाहे अपने आप से चाहे किसी और से, लेकिन ये सवाल पे क्लैरिटी जरूर चाहिए. इसके पहले क्या प्रोग्राम बनाओ, इसके पहले क्या प्रोग्राम, आपको ये क्लैरिटी होना चाहिए कि ईदर दिस प्रोग्राम वुड परफॉर्म द डीएमएल इनसाइड ट्रांजैक्शन और इनसाइड पार्सल प्रोसेस. कि अगर एक रिकॉर्ड फेल होता है सारा कुछ फेल हो जाना चाहिए, सारा ट्रांजैक्शन कैंसिल हो जाना चाहिए. क्या हमको ये फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करनी है, और या फिर हमें पार्शियल प्रोसेसिंग की फैसिलिटी प्रोवाइड करनी की जहां पे अगर कुछ रिकॉर्ड फेल होते हैं तो उसको इग्नोर किया जाए और जो बाकी अच्छे रिकॉर्ड है उनको इंसर्ट करा जाए. इसे पार्शियल प्रोसेसिंग क्या हमें ये फैसिलिटी, और ये क्लैरिटी मिलने के बाद ही हम प्रोग्राम बनाए. ये एक बहुत जरूरी सवाल है. दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन. इट्स अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ लाइफ. हाँ, तो मैं एक एग्जांपल देने वाला था आप लोग. कहाँ पे ट्रांजैक्शन की हम बात. अरे ये बहुत सिंपल है यार. आई मीन इफ यू माइट इफ एवर यू हैव बुक अप book that railway tickets using IRCTC app, and whenever you enter those details and everything, and you go to payment gateway, if your transaction, that whatever the payment you are putting against that, if that happens completely, then and then only your tickets are booked. Otherwise, not. Sometimes what happens, I mean, due to certain network issues or bank service does not respond in a proper time, especially when you are using nationalized banks purpose. That's why I don't relay with all these national banks, don't mind, but this is what is a reality. So if you have certain urgent thing to get paid, please don't rely with the bank servers, nationalized bank servers. So if that transition wouldn't get completed in that particular span of time, so the ticket, I mean the booking what you were being making, that is being cancelled, and this happens with some few more apps. Like if you're booking movie tickets, I guess with Book My Show or something, this happens. So there are certain situations where we intentionally wanted to maintain the transaction. If something bad happens with a single record, the complete transaction is going to get cancelled, the rollback. So there are a few situations where we wanted this facility of transaction. Otherwise, for some other situation, we wanted, especially with data loads, and we are transferring the data. You know, that time we wanted partial processing. That time we wanted partial, because see, if for example, if I have worked with so many of like migration projects. So in the migration projects, what happens is like once everything has been developed and that has been tested with that has been tested. We used to call this as a white box testing. White box testing is something what we used to do it at our end, right? So when everything has been tested, we would migrate actual client data into the environments. Like I have told you, like I'm not sure I have told you this or not, but I have worked with a technology called Airtable. Airtable is something I cannot say it's a CRM, but that was something really advanced Excel type का एक software होता है. And there was one of our client who was using this Airtable to store their records, all of their entities from a long time. But then they came to know that this Airtable is just like an Excel. It's kind of database, a cloud form of database, and it doesn't provide you the automations and everything. You cannot build up a reports. You cannot fire the automations and everything. So when they came to know about Salesforce, we demonstrated all the functionalities, and they got impressed. And they after that meeting, after I mean that was just not single meeting. There was a sequence of meetings. But finally, they decided to migrate everything from Airtable to Salesforce. So once we have developed everything, after that there was a moment when we started transferring their actual data into Salesforce. So that time I have written the batch classes for that. This is an upcoming topic. So we have used database dot insert and upsert that time. I mean, that time we have used database classes. Why? Because if something wrong comes in the input, we just wanted to that data to be get ignored. And we were having that tracking mechanism. Whatever the record was getting failed. After that, after every batch of data, we used to had that analysis कि चलो अब ये भी देख लेते हैं कितना सक्सेस हुआ है वो तो ठीक है कितना फेल हुआ है that is again important because he ultimately will have to migrate everything. एयर टेबल से आपको पूरा लेके आना. हाँ बट एटलीस्ट एक की वजह से सारा ट्रांजेक्शन फेल होता जाएगा तो हम कब तक काम करेंगे. तो वी जस्ट हैव टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन दोज थिंग विच आर गेटिंग फेल्ड. हमें एक प्रिसाइज सेट चाहिए उन सारे रिकॉर्ड्स का जो फेल हो रहा है ताकि वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड एंड वी शुड इन्वेस्टिगेट कि if this record is getting failed, what is the reason of this? So to make this, to make this precise, to just focus on only those records which are having certain issues with them and due to which they have been not committed. So we make a use of database class method. तो ये बहुत एक देखिए ये एक ऐसी सिचुएशन है जो आपके पास हर बार आएगी और आपको ये इस बात का बहुत ध्यान रखना है. इस वक्त जो हमने ये डिस्कशन किया दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इस तरह से कोई भी इस चीज को नहीं समझाता है, कभी नहीं बताता. कोई ऐसी ट्रेनिंग नहीं जहां पर आपको इसको इस तरह से इलाबरेट करके बोला जाएगा. कंसेप्ट समझाना एक अलग बात हो, इसके लिए बहुत अच्छे अच्छे लोग हैं, मेरे से भी ज्यादा अच्छे लोग, लेकिन उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कहाँ पे किस तरह से बाइफरगेटेड होता है ये आपको बताने के लिए ना, मतलब ये तो ट्रेनिंग्स में इंक्लूड नहीं होता है और या फिर किसी के पास इतना समय नहीं होता. लेकिन ये हमको समझना जरूरी है कि हम इंसर्ट कहाँ यूज कर रहे हैं और डेटाबेस डॉट इंसर्ट कहाँ, अपडेट कहाँ और डेटाबेस डॉट अपडेट कहाँ, मतलब कन्वेंशनल डीएमएल स्टेटमेंट कहाँ यूज करें और डेटाबेस क्लास मेथड्स को कहाँ यूज करें। तो जहां कहीं भी wherever there is a situation where you wanted to maintain the transactions, when you intentionally wanted, if something got wrong with this record, even a single record, the whole transaction should get rolled back. When this is the priority, then we are going to make a use of conventional DML statements over. Example में दे चुका हूँ. And similarly, if I wanted to ignore those records which are getting filled, I don't want it, the whole transaction should be get cancelled all because of few of them, then I will make a use of database class methods, right? So apart from these three limitations, advantages, disadvantages, this picture is very big. It was just a trailer of a very big movie. That is what you have understood. So that's the reason yesterday itself I have told you there would be some very important discussion that we are going to initiate regarding to database.class. Don't just think like that this is a replacement of conventional DMS. Yes, of course. In place of insert, I can give database dot insert. In place of update, I can give database dot update. But if I'm giving that, I must know why I'm. So that is the reason, I yesterday itself I have told. If something by tomorrow I'm going to add a discussion which I feel is very important for every one of us. Being a developer, we must know why we are using database class method instead of conventional DML statements. So that is what we just have understood. Let me see what else. For going to the program, what else I can show you? Oh yes. Oh yes. Guys, do one thing. Do one. Do one. Although I am going to explain you all these with the help of a program, of course, I'm going to make modification in this program itself. But still, I wanted that, today I wanted you read this theory. Read this theory. Right? What does a database dot save result class is there and database dot error class is there. Up to this, right? I just wanted you to read this theory. So that when by tomorrow, when I'll take this program, you could have a little background, not just complete understanding. A little background when I would write database dot save result, when I would write database dot error, and when I would write on database dot insert, along with there would be certain parameters, along with a parameters as false. So there you would probably have a little background of that, right? So I don't wanted to straightforwardly jump to the program. I wanted you to do a little study on this. तो आज आप ऐसा करें, ये जो लिखा है डेटाबेस डॉट इंसर्ट, ठीक है, यहाँ से इसको पढ़ लें, ठीक है, यहाँ से पढ़ लें इसको यहाँ तक, एंड डोंट गो विद द प्रोग्राम मैं बताऊंगा, बिकॉज प्रोग्राम इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट राइटिंग दिस, इसको मुझे एक्सप्लेन भी कर, सो दैट यू शुड हैव एन लिटिल बैकग्राउंड अबाउट दिस, एटलीस्ट टर्म्स तो नोन रहे हमारे को। अगर उसका मीनिंग पूरी तरह से नहीं भी समझ में आ रहा है, कोई इशू नहीं, कोई इशू नहीं, मैं बता ही दे रहा हूँ। So tomorrow when I would take this program, I would at the same time make you aware about all this, how to use database class method, how to track the results, and how to track the errors and the success as well. ठीक है, तो कल हम ये देखते हैं इसके ऊपर, because it would require a significant amount of time to explain those things. Cannot be done in just 13 minutes. Yeah, that's all for today. Any questions? Any questions? by this weekend, probably I could take a. I'm planning for a session on the Salesforce Lightning too. So I could probably plan something on this coming Sunday. If that would happen, I'm going to make an announcement in your group. Yes. Any questions? Any questions? Nothing to ask, right? Thank you so much for joining. That is.